that is valves closed. We go ahead and hit our M1 preset button. I have it set to the sportiest setting on all modes. Confirm it. Hope you guys can hear that on the camera, but in person the valve change is ridiculous. That is courtesy of the Dynon exhaust. And then we'll go ahead and close it. Open it up again. What's up everybody? So I just recently passed the 1 month mark of ownership with my F82 M4. And a lot of you have been asking, what is it like to own this car? How has it been so far? Do you enjoy it from the previous car that you came from, which was an M235, reliability, power, all that kind of stuff? So today I figured I would give you all a first impressions kind of video. I'm gonna go to a nice spot, just give you guys a nice exterior walk around, cover some of the mods that I've done to this car already, some of my general impressions, and then we'll get into a quick driving portion of this car, and I can further lay out my detailed thoughts. So if you guys are enjoying what you see, make sure to smash that thumbs up button because it helps to promote this video to other people that may be interested in the same kind of content that you were watching. And on top of that, if you could subscribe to the channel if you are new, that would be super awesome. We are almost at 40K. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. So behind me is my F82. Let me go ahead and turn around, flip the camera over, and give you guys just a quick walk around of this beautiful M4 because this was my dream car, as many of you guys know. It still is a dream car. It still hasn't even really hit me that this car is mine, to be quite honest. I love this thing so much. If you guys watch some of my previous videos, you'll know how much I wanted this car. But anyway, enough rambling about that. This car is finished off in Silverstone Metallic for the exterior, carbon cloth, anthracite interior, and it's a stripper spec. So we don't really have any factory options with this car. No Harman Kardon, no backup cam, no comfort access, no adaptive dampers, rides on the standard suspension. The only options on this car were the 19-inch 437M wheels, has the carbon roof, has the carbon fiber and performance lip along with the splitters on it. I did some gloss black kidney grills, some carbon fiber mirror caps as well, and overall it just really has cleaned up the look of this car quite a bit and just makes it look very aggressive. As you might be able to tell, the ride height is not stock. It is lowered on Swift Sport Spec R springs. I had my friends over at Studio RSR in Garden Grove, California install those mods for me. Coming over to the back, excuse the plates, those were from the previous owner, which I still have yet to get my own plates, but we have the carbon fiber and performance style deck lid spoiler, and the icing on the cake is the beautiful Dynon Valvetronic free flow exhaust with the Dynon X pipe. It sounds absolutely glorious. I love, love, love the sound of this car. I know a lot of people don't really like the sound of the BMW S55, but for me personally, it's an acquired taste. And for me personally, it's grown quite a bit on me, and I'm just really, really happy with it. If we walk over to the interior, obviously we have the carbon cloth interior, which I love because it's just so easy to maintain. It feels so nice when you're sitting in it. You stay really gripped in the seat. Carbon fiber interior trim. And overall, like, one thing I love about these F-Series BMWs is the build quality on them is so high, at least in my opinion and in my experience. Just everything, the fit and finish, the use of materials, the lack of gimmicks and the lack of unnecessary crap that these cars have is just so refreshing. Like, I love how it's just, you get what you need, you know, there isn't really anything more than that, and everything is just ergonomical, functional, and classy. Gorgeous interior on these cars. Oh my lord. This car is an absolute animal. Since we're talking about first impressions, let's just get into the power of this car. We know that it's an M4, it's gonna be fast, it's gonna haul ass, whether it's a straight line or a canyon back road. This thing is a total riot. But when I say these cars are fast, guys, they are fast. Now, everybody has a different perspective on speed, and speed is very subjective to a lot of people, but I think it's safe to say across the board that the M4 is a quick car. It's 425 horsepower stock, 406 pound-feet of torque stock, and I swear to you, it feels totally underrated from factory. This car has so much top-end power. It screams all the way to the 7,500 RPM red line, which is pretty high for a twin-turbo inline-six engine. And the power is just very, very raw. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels like a race car, essentially. It makes race car noises. It has a very classic BMW motorsport type exhaust that this S55 engine produces, and the power delivery is, it's not linear. It builds up to like 4,000 RPM. That's when you really start to get full boost, the full beans, and those twin turbos just send you into another dimension in terms of speed. I mean, you get shoved into the seat, you feel the traction control kicking in, you can feel all the little variations from the transmission, the diff working, the engine exhaust, everything is just an absolute riot. You just feel the whole chassis like hunkered down on the car. And that's something that I never really experienced with any other BMW that I had owned. To be quite honest, I guess that's part of what the M experience is with these cars. And certainly for me, that is my #1 favorite aspect about owning this car right off the bat. That was something that totally took me off guard. The suspension is so stiff. The chassis feels very, very rigid. I mean, you go over bumps and you're like, like you're just kind of like bouncing in the seat. And I know I look like an idiot saying that, but I really mean it. When you rev the car, you can feel how stiff the motor mounts are and how stiff the chassis itself is. In fact, the rear subframe on this car is actually bolted directly to the mainframe. There's no use of rubber bushings or anything. So overall, this is a very, very rigid body, a very firm chassis with very firm suspension. And not only does it enable the sporty character of this vehicle, but this car handles really, really well. I mean, it's very hard to find the limits of this car, unless if you're on just completely shitty tires like I am. I'm on some all seasons, and I'm not gonna lie, they suck. But one of the coolest things about owning an M car as well is that it isn't a huge compromise being an owner of one. If you just keep the car stock, if you don't do any crazy mods to it, I mean, this is such a relatively mundane vehicle when it's in its comfort-oriented settings. And the suspension can be very comfortable, especially if your car has the EDC in the softest setting. And if you have everything in just comfort, it's a very, very quiet car. And to be honest, on the interior driving it, you really wouldn't know that this car has 400 plus horsepower in it. So it's a very interesting experience, the fact that this car can switch its character up basically with the push of a few buttons. And yes, of course there are some things that really tailor this car to make it a sports car, but to the average person, they wouldn't know. You can run to the bank, to a date night, to a movie night, to your Starbucks drive-through run, commute to work and back, whatever the case may be, this car can do it no problem. And so far, this car for me has been really, really reliable. Obviously, this is like a first impressions. I haven't owned it for very long, but as I keep stating, there really aren't, I have not experienced any issues with this thing thus far. If you turn traction control off on this thing and you don't know what the hell you're doing, if you're getting up to very high speeds very dangerously without understanding the chassis dynamics and just overall vehicle control, this car, it's easy for it to step out on you. It's easy to get into an accident with it. And that's something that I think a lot of M owners need to be aware of, especially as these cars come down in price. A lot of younger owners are going to be picking these things up. And you have to respect this car when you're driving it. It's very easy to go past its limits. It's very easy for this car's performance to exceed your driver's skill. And that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about, but I think it's really important because if you crash one of these things, it can be very dangerous, obviously, and you need to have respect for your own driving skill, and you need to have respect for the vehicle itself and to understand to work your way up into mods with these cars because they are fast. I mean, there's a reason why insurance is expensive on these cars. I'm 22 years old, so it doesn't really help me. I'm relatively young for an M4 owner. But again, overall, all those things make the M4 to why it is such a great package. The carbon fiber roof, the use of a magnesium oil pan, a carbon fiber drive shaft, a carbon fiber trunk, all these lightweight materials and extensive use of weight savings, powerful engine, and just everything combined is why I like this car. And I know I'm kissing ass to this car. I know I'm really being a suck up, but it's because I really enjoyed this car. I mean, it was my dream car for a reason, as I keep stating over and over. In terms of complaints, the only thing I would say is that this car struggles to put down the power, and you need a good set of tires. The OEM tires will not cut it, to be quite honest with you guys. The rear end just likes to step out way too often on these cars, and on top of that, there just isn't enough rubber being put down for this car to grip. Even at the stock power level, you know, you put this car in MDM mode and traction control is still violently kicking in to control the power. And even with the DCT, it shifts so hard that it will actually kick the rear end loose, and it can be kind of scary if you don't even know what you're doing. It's definitely something, again, that you need to respect with this car. But aside from that, guys, I have no complaints about this car. At least at this point in my ownership, which is relatively early on, there's nothing that I don't like about it. I mean, I just think for the money, for the performance per dollar value that it offers, I got this car for $34,500 with 39,000 miles now. Picked it up at $38K. My God, it's such an incredible value, and the fact that something like this exists in the car market today is just an absolute blessing, because this car is freaking awesome. I hope that sort of details my overall first impressions of this car, guys. As you can tell, I really like it. I'm really happy with owning this thing, and I just can't wait to build it up to something further and just something even more crazy for this channel. Obviously, like I said, I'm going with that track build, so this car is going to be an absolute monster on the track. I'm very excited to continue with that process. But if you could leave me a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't done so already, would appreciate it immensely. We're almost at 40,000 subscribers, so please join the fam. We got videos coming by the day. With all that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.